Traditionally, there has been the empirical ways of drug development, which, in other words, we often call it as a trial and error. Just as a human brain, the more you train a brain, the more you train the algorithm, the more robust the tool gets. Even though the AI ML tools are here to speed and help bring speed of decision making, the human intelligence, along with the machine intelligence, is here to stay. And leveraging both is going to be equally important.
Welcome to Data and Biotech, a podcast from Cordi where we explore how companies leverage data to drive innovation in life sciences. Every 2 weeks, we sit down with an expert from the world of biotechnology to understand how they're using data science to solve technical challenges, streamline operations, and further innovation in their business. Here we go.
Anil Kane, welcome to the Data and Biotech podcast.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Well, just to kick us off, would you mind giving us an introduction to your background and what brought you here today?
Sure. My name is Anil Kane, a global head of technical and scientific affairs in the pharma science group of Thermo Fisher Scientific. This AAPS meeting is an excellent forum which we participate in almost every year, with the exception of the pandemic, of course. So this is an exciting time where digital tools have really gained importance, also because of fast computing and the technology that we have. We see a lot more applications that can be leveraged. So artificial intelligence is a new buzzword, but it's a platform where, machine learning and algorithms based predictive modeling has been leveraged in the years gone by. We at Thermo Fisher have had the opportunity to leverage and already utilize and reap benefits for ourselves and our clients in the last, I would say, around 10 years already. But the newer digital tools with faster computing, etc., gives us even faster outputs that can be leveraged through these digital tools. And we see more and more applications of these machine learning algorithm-based tools and models that we can use as predictive modeling in a variety of different areas. And this is what Thermo Fisher would like to learn, build, share, and leverage these benefits to our partners.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and we're gonna have a chance to dive into the specific use cases of like how you're using machine learning and AI, throughout the podcast. But just starting with like the way that things look traditionally. So prior to the integration of these digital tools, like what inefficiencies or what were the aspects of drug development that needed to be digitized in order to like reap value from the application of the digital tools?
So prior to the digital tools, traditionally there has been the empirical ways of drug development, which, in other words, we often call it as a trial and error. So, based on the scientific data, based on the judgment, the scientists in the pharmaceutical industries in the decades gone by would try one technology or the other, of course, prioritizing one over the other, and try out to find solutions to solve the technical challenges and see if the outcomes are favorable to move to the next stage of a development program. This empirical approach often led to rework if it did not show promising outcomes. What we want to solve by using these digital tools and predictive modeling is how can we just eliminate that rework. In today's time, there is a tremendous cost and time pressure in drug development for the entire industry. And I don't think there is ever a possibility of going back to the drawing board. So all the investment has to show as much promising results as we can, and hence the application of these predictive modeling tools really eliminates the need for rework or going back to the driving board and only focus on techniques, technologies, and outcomes that are favorable to take the drug to the next phase of the milestone speedier and in a cost-effective way.
I'm interested in, examples from you, like where are companies experiencing most strongly the cost of being wrong or having to do this trial and error and this rework, as you described it, that's really extending the timelines and also increasing the cost of drug development?
So there are several ways and areas that have shown to reduce the cost and time in the drug development journey. The one area that we at Thermo Fisher, being a global contract development and manufacturing organization, feel strongly about is a one-stop shop where we at Thermo Fisher provide end-to-end services as a single vendor or a partner to support everything from drug substance development coming out of the drug discovery, taking it through clinical phases, first in human trials, and doing everything that is required to bring the molecule to an approval and bring it to patients, which includes drug substance manufacturing, GMP manufacturing, drug product manufacturing, clinical trials, distribution, and also clinical trials per se. So the benefits of a single vendor providing these end-to-end services has been shown by a study conducted by Tufts Center to reduce the overall time of development and also cost of development for the pharmaceutical sponsors. So that certainly is one area that we would want our pharma partners to leverage and bring advantages to the table.
So, the first one that you mentioned in your presentation is AI/ML for formulation design. So, you highlight Quadrant 2, which is this platform for formulation. So, can you just introduce the audience to what Quadrant 2 does and, maybe a little bit about how it works?
Absolutely. So we recently launched a platform called OSD Predict, which essentially is for oral solid dose drug delivery. And the Predict, of course, relates to predictive modeling. So under the platform of OSD Predict, Quadrant 2 is one of the predictive modeling tools which helps identify the most promising technology to solve poor solubility, poor bioavailability challenges of small molecules that come out of drug discovery. We are finding more and more small molecules coming from discovery to clinical candidates are poorly soluble, they don't get absorbed, and we would certainly encourage our industry partners to adopt this predictive modeling tool under Quadrant 2 to select the right technology that shows promise. And with that predictive modeling, we would then predict whether it's amorphous solid dispersion by way of spray drying or hot melt extrusion or lipidic delivery, targeted delivery. What should be the drug loading in an amorphous solid dispersion that will be more patient friendly? What are the techniques that will show promise? And using these predictive modeling tool, one without any need of a very expensive drug substance, just based on some molecular properties. It could be as simple as chemical structure, log P, pKa, melting point, and any other molecular properties that are available. This can be fed into an in-house built algorithm that is being generated from known compounds that will help as an outcome predict which technology will show promise.
Yeah, so just imagining kind of the model, the setup of the model. You've got all of these molecular properties that are going into it, and then sort of in the end which formulation strategy was selected for each of the compounds. And so, as I understand it, there's like this ranking that comes out that sort of classifies these are the formulation approaches that are most likely to work for your compound. These are the ones that might work, but require further research, and then these are the ones that are likely not to work. First of all, am I understanding that correctly?
That is absolutely correct. So we would rank order them. So we would prioritize to say that a technology X, for example, spray drying or hot melt extrusion, which is an amorphous solid dispersion format, has a higher probability of success. There could be others which could be maybe we should try this, and some others are not likely. So certainly we would want to give choice. Also because drug development is a tricky area where doses are not defined. So for a certain indication, one would start with a smaller dose, and there are ascending dose studies and single ascending, multiple ascending dose studies, which will then define what are the doses that are likely to show therapeutic efficacy. So the success of a technology is also based on how much of the dose is going to show effectiveness for a certain indication. So there is only so much we can pack in a pill or a capsule or a tablet. So there are always variables that will show a higher probability of success with certain technologies and maybe for others. And this will guide us into focusing on those technologies to make most effective use of the time and money that is invested in drug development.
Yeah, and I'm imagining that like some of your customers might come to you with ranges of doses that are expected to be there. And so, is the idea then that you sort of like run the predictive model like, at different parameters to like understand the space, or I'm just interested in how you think about like the uncertainty, both in terms of like the model and the modeling side. The model has some uncertainty about it, but then also like the parameters that you're getting from your customers also have some uncertainty around them, and how those like come together in a model like this.
Yes, absolutely. So the estimated dose, which is predicted by the clinicians of a pharma partner, are essential to understand. So based on the mechanism of action and with good discussion with the clinicians, and the animal pharmacokinetic data, there are predictions from that area as well. As the likely dose to be effective in a human subject could be in tens of milligrams or hundreds of milligrams, or whatever is the estimated doses. So we certainly would want to get an understanding of where could be the likely estimated range of dose, and that is factored into the predictive modeling as well.
Yeah. How does a model like this help to save time in the drug development process?
So as we talked earlier, this certainly helps reduce the trial and error. So rather than trying out a technology and if it's not working to the extent that we want to, and going back to the drawing board. And we've had some situations where partners have tried XYZ and have come back and said, we would rather go an approach which is science data-based prediction of the technology and so on. But to answer your question, certainly this is where we would want to save the time and the money that is invested in doing the most appropriate technology development. And then actually, this is the predictive modeling, which helps guide the technology. And we would then have all the equipment, the expertise in-house to actually generate samples, which can be tested in an animal PK model before taking it in first time in a human subject study. So there are multiple case studies that we have with the success of predictive modeling. This has helped reduce time and cost for the molecule to progress to a first in human clinical trial.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, I'm imagining that customers, like when they have a molecule that they're trying to bring to market, they may have some like more understanding of one the formulation method or manufacturing method, and so they sort of like are biased toward the thing that they know. Whereas when you can use a model like this, you can infuse that model with information about things that have been successful across the entire ecosystem of drugs that have been successfully launched and manufactured, and that model can bring like more unbiased knowledge to bear in terms of that decision. Am I thinking about that right?
That's right. And the model is technology agnostic. So it's purely based on scientific data that every molecule brings. And it's also based on the properties. The indications are different. The doses are different. So we would have to make sure that all these are factored into the success.
Yeah, I'm interested in how do you think about improving a model like this over time? Because there's sort of a challenge of you only sort of know the paths that you took, you don't know the paths that you didn't take, and so like the counterfactuals of which manufacturing strategies and formulation methods might have gone into it, it's hard to integrate that data. So I'm just interested in like, what does a feedback loop look like for improving the model?
That's a great question, and with this machine learning, that's how the machine learning works, is that you feed a certain number of molecule data in an algorithm. So initially we started with around 200 molecules, which are in the public domain or in the literature, with the molecule properties of around 200 molecules and their success rates in a certain technology. That was a starting point to build the machine learning algorithm and the tool itself. As we applied this tool on the new chemical entities and fed this tool itself, the more and more molecules that we work on, this gets added to the machine learning. And just as a human brain, the more you train a brain, the more you train the algorithm, the more robust the tool gets. Today, we have more than 400 molecule data in that model. So that's the nice part of a machine learning tool. It gets more and more robust as we generate more data and feed that tool with more molecules.
Yeah, interesting. So it's trained on like the success rates of the molecules in these different formulations. Okay, that's really interesting. So moving on to predicted stability and digital shelf life modeling. My understanding is that Thermo Fisher has developed this predictive stability modeling, or accelerated stability assessment program, right? So it's the ability to, do 21-day simulations of stability rather than having to do something like that traditionally takes like 12 months of studying stability. Can you just, outline what that ASAP program does?
Sure. So we at Thermo Fisher have in-licensed the ASAP Prime software, which is, a well-established tool which can predict the stability of, oral solid dosage forms or even liquids in packaging components as well. So it can predict based on Arrhenius plots the rate of degradation to determine the shelf life or a retest date, which is more important in clinical space, sooner than the traditional ICH stability at an accelerated temperature humidity conditions. So in clinical development, as mentioned earlier, time and speed of development is very critical. To understand the molecule, its properties, its stability, its manufacturability, and scalability is of prime importance. So to understand the stability in a shorter duration of time is a fantastic opportunity and a tool. And this is being done by the ASAP program by exposure of these molecules, these formats, these dosage forms, and the packaging of these compounds to higher temperature humidity conditions in small chambers, in small cells at a higher temperature, higher humidity conditions to predict or to simulate those conditions to give us the information and data sooner And that's what the 21-day period is what we mentioned earlier.
Are the outcomes of this stability modeling being communicated to regulators, or how do the outputs sort of inform the process as you go from?
So this is certainly a decision-making outcome where we would choose from formulations, A to E, F, whatever the number of formulations we are evaluating. So that's the first outcome. So selection of dosage forms, selection of formulations, selection of packaging components, etc., is the first outcome. And then this ASAP stability can also be used to generate the clinical stability along with the well-established ICH stability predictions or stability conditions. This ASAP Prime is also definitely now being issued, submitted to the regulators as well. There are sponsors who are submitting the ASAP stability data for an approval for, first in human clinical study, etc. as well. So many companies use the ASAP platform for early decision making in clinical space. And then once we have robust formulations being scaled up in larger patient population, in larger clinical studies, we of course in parallel carry out the ICH stability as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. So if I think about it, it's more like a stability risk assessment. Like how at risk is this compound that we're bringing to market in the way that we're thinking about manufacturing it right now, of having stability issues. Is this a place where we should be focusing our attention, or do we feel generally good about stability? Am I thinking about that right?
That is correct.
So you mentioned that some of the companies are already sort of testing the waters of submitting the predictions from the ASAP Prime program to regulators. Do you have a sense of how regulators are responding to this kind of information?
I think in decision making, certainly this has been well established, well supported as well. So this is certainly the demand to run ASAP and understand the stability challenges sooner is definitely an advantage.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, moving on to digital manufacturing and AI in the supply chain, obviously, when you're manufacturing, you have all of the manufacturing equipment, you have the operators that are interacting with that equipment, you have moving the product from phase to phase of the manufacturing product. I'm just interested in, how is Thermo Fisher applying, a mix of AI, ML, and data visualization and other digital tools to that process?
So we at Thermo Fisher have started to implement digital tools by what we call as a digital SME, digital subject matter expert, as a tool for several areas. One is predictive maintenance of equipment for planning, scheduling in operations, troubleshooting equipment in the operations, having a lesser downtime between changeovers from one product to another. So as a contract development and manufacturing partner, streamlining operations and having operational efficiencies is key for supporting as many products, processes for multiple partners and having a lesser downtime between two processes, between two production campaigns. So application of these digital tools as digital SME helps reduce that downtime and bring operational operation efficiencies, for streamlining processes better, faster, saving time and money, and providing a better service to our customers.
Yeah, that's great. Can I ask you some follow-up questions on some of these use cases that you're talking about? So, when you talk about predictive maintenance of equipment, I can imagine a variety of approaches to try to predict when maintenance procedures need to be taken. You could think about sort of like the life cycle of certain parts. You could think about like the real-time alerts that are coming off of the system. So I'm just interested in what does a predictive maintenance system look like at Thermo Fisher?
So these are the sensors and the tools that are embedded in equipment processes and also in the scheduling, planning tools, etc. So these are being used, and there are certain variables that are fed as input parameters that would give signals where, for example, predicted maintenance could be then alerted in advance, or for a better planning, scheduling, etc. These outcomes would be useful for the scheduler to reduce that downtime, etc. So there are sensors and areas that will give alerts, and these alerts will then bring the right experts to take a look at what can be done, what needs to be attended to, etc.
That makes sense. So you've got sensors that are normally within normal bounds, and if the sensors sort of deviate outside of normal bounds, then that's a trigger that like sort of maintenance needs to be done. And can you give an example of how machine learning models feed into the work that you do at Thermo Fisher, and how it leads to lesser downtime, other than obviously making sure that machines are maintained and that they're breaking down less often by using the predictive maintenance approach?
Mhm. So there are tools that help planning, scheduling, etc. So there are equipment maintenance, as we talked earlier, cleaning verifications, as well as other activities that are done between two products, two processes on an equipment train. So we want to reduce that downtime to a minimal, what is important and what is compliant. That's what we would be looking at when we understand what we mean by reducing that downtime.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can remember one of the charts from your presentation. It was sort of like tracking an entity through your entire manufacturing process and looking at how much time each phase of manufacturing takes. And so, am I thinking about that correctly? That that's sort of a tool that you're giving to the operators to help them understand where they should be focusing their attention, and that's in order to minimize the downtime.
Yeah, absolutely. There was one other area that my presentation talks about is automated visual inspection, especially in the sterile injectable area, where traditionally inspection of particulates in sterile liquid vial that the operator does manually. So this is now being done by an automated process and using AVI tools, or automated visual inspection tools, which is one of the areas of digital tool, has helped reduce those errors and is much faster, speedier than a manual visual inspection. So certainly these tools help reduce the time taken, as well as bringing operational efficiencies.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm assuming this is like a vision system based classification platform where it's like you've got images of the vial with the particulates in it, and then it's sort of like a too many particulates, or this is pass or fail sort of thing. Yeah, so we've worked on some similar vision systems like this where we're detecting wells and detect the colors of wells and sort of classifying whether the wells are the appropriate color or the wrong color. So sort of a similar is like system idea.
And as far as machine learning is concerned, there are different scenarios, different challenges in the visual inspection that are fed to the machine as a part of the learning tool.
Yeah, interesting. So you there's also a case study, I believe, in there from the Monza facility that where AI reduced, I think, false rejection rates by 85%. Can you maybe like explain that case study and how that was achieved?
That was exactly with the automated visual inspection, where the operation efficiency was, improved by reducing that rejection rate.
Prior, humans were like visually rejecting these vials because they couldn't distinguish the difference between a pass and a fail effectively, and so having the automated vision system was able to like more accurately classify.
That is absolutely correct.
One of the things that we've seen as we've done, data infrastructure work in the space is this idea that like a lot of the metadata that you need or the information that you need in order to feed these AI and ML models like lives in different systems. Like in your case, I think SAP and MES. I'm just interested in how do these predictive modeling systems that you've developed or digital tools that you've developed, integrate with those systems and sort of like grab the data that they need and also push out the data that helps the organization to stay efficient?
That's a great question. We have a separate group with experts in the area that are only focused in integrating these well-established tools and applying these tools in what we are trying to do on application of AI tools. So certainly these experts have started to implement these at a variety of sites in the network to bring these advantages.
Where do you see as the next step? Are there any use cases from an AI ML predictive modeling perspective that you're really excited about that you think are on the horizon for Thermo Fisher?
So certainly as we build these tools, the digital tools, AI ML based tools, we certainly see a lot more advantages from bringing operational efficiencies, better, faster decision making, and all these are data-based decision making processes, whether it's in early phase development or late phase development, etc. So Thermo Fisher is looking at leveraging the expertise that OpenAI brings in all the areas that Thermo Fisher would want to bring these advantages to our partners in the pharma industry. This could be in early drug development. This could be in application in clinical trial space, from patient recruitment or data analytics in the clinical space, etc.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, just from the description you just gave, there's so many use cases for the application of large language models and multimodal models that OpenAI brings to bear to like all of the different work that Thermo Fisher does across the entire landscape of drug development. Are there any particular use cases that you think are just most ripe or most likely to be successful?
So certainly we are looking for low-hanging fruit, right? So easier to embrace, easier to apply, and easier to bring benefits as we evolve and build those other application tools.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, from a researcher perspective, it's pretty clear where these models can be useful because there's just this opportunity to inject like all of this data into this intelligence that can then process it and synthesize it for you. But then there's also sort of the simple things like taking the manual for how to operate a piece of complex equipment and help operators to better understand or troubleshoot, the 2,000 different alarm states that they might see in operating that piece of equipment. So yeah, I don't know. I can just imagine there are lots of opportunities and use cases.
Yes, and there have already been tools such as augmented reality, visual reality. These tools are being used for training operators. We have implemented those within our sterile manufacturing sites already to save time and money because training of the individuals operators in a sterile environment is very time consuming and expensive.
Yeah.
So this can be done outside these sterile zones. So all these tools have certain applications that we want to leverage.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's exciting, the opportunity to apply all of these data-driven tools to the kind of work that you do, but also any digital transformation effort has to reckon with the fact that, people are used to doing things in a certain way, that people have learned to do things in a certain way. So I'm just wondering, what is your experience been like trying to bring scientists and engineers along for the ride of, digitizing a lot of the workflows and infusing it with the intelligence that can come from these?
Yeah, it is exciting time. I think scientists, engineers, and experts from every branch coming together. I think that is going to see a transformation and bringing speed. The cost pressures, the time pressures are always here to stay. Right.
I'm just interested in, do you have any principles in mind about where is human expertise most relevant and important, and where does it need to be injected into this, and where is sort of the application of these digital tools most important, and how do you make them work together most effectively?
So I think, and we think at Thermo Fisher, that human expertise is definitely going to be required. Even though the AI ML tools are here to speed and help bring speed of decision making, the human intelligence along with the machine intelligence is here to stay. And leveraging both is going to be equally important.
Is there anything one takeaway that you would give to the audience in terms of, leveraging digital tools like this in drug development?
It's an exciting time for all of us in the pharmaceutical industry, and we really look forward to bring advantages and efficiencies in drug development at Thermo Fisher, and then applying it to the benefit of our pharmaceutical industry partners.
Yeah. And where can people go to learn more about you and about your work at Thermo Fisher?
Well, you can reach us at the Thermo Fisher website.
I know it's been a pleasure having you on. I really appreciate the time and look forward to connecting down the line.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's a pleasure to speak with you.
And that's it for this episode of Data in Biotech. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe, rate, or leave a review in your podcast platform of choice. See you next time.